So there's been a lot of conversations what Team USA decided to do when they selected Derek White as the replacement for Kawhi Leonard. Now, the obvious reason is Jaylen Brown. He was a Finals MVP. He was seen as the best player for the Boston Celtics during their playoff run. I don't think he was, but in some eyes, he was their best player. He won the Eastern Conference MVP. He's constantly talked about how he doesn't get enough respect, but he's also said he doesn't care about it anymore. So there was an opportunity where the USA basketball team could have taken Jaylen Brown over Derek White. Now, the awkward part is you picked Derek White over Jaylen Brown. They played for the same basketball team. But you decided, you know what? We're going to choose fit. That was the reason that somehow Derek White fit better than Jaylen Brown. We don't know why they did that, but hey, they decided to go with Derek White. Now, somebody in the media decided to open their mouth, and it was Mr. Stephen A. Smith. And here we go again, giving his 2 cents. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with everything he said because he's got some good points in his tweet. Let me pull up that tweet. I'll read it to you. And here's what he had to say. So Stephen A. Smith says, "Do y'all believe me now? Yo, Jaylen Brown, do I need to reveal my sources now? Is it not obvious now? How in the heck is a $300 million man, now an NBA champion and an NBA Finals MVP, who's clearly a top 2 player on the Celtics and a top 15 player in the world, not chosen for Team USA? Because his teammate not named Tatum is selected before him? Come on, y'all." And as you see, Jaylen Brown had his emojis and then, shouting out Nike, saying, "This is what we're doing." So in case nobody knows the background of the story, it all started with Stephen A. Smith. He was on First Take, and he said he's got sources who have told him that Jaylen Brown isn't marketable, that he's not very liked. And Jaylen Brown said, "Tell me your sources, Stephen A. Smith. Who's saying this about me?" So we know Jaylen Brown. He had the awful Game 7 against the Heat last year. People said he didn't have a left hand. Why did he get $300 million? And he shut everybody up this year. People see him as probably either the best shooting guard maybe or the second or third best shooting guard because of his performance. It's amazing how a year changes things. Now, with that being said, now, of course, when Stephen A. Smith was reading that report about those sources, he didn't agree with those people who felt like Jaylen Brown isn't marketable, that people don't like him. So that's cool. But why are you tweeting about it weeks later? It's almost like you're insecure. You didn't like the fact that Jaylen Brown disagreed with you and he questioned you and called you out because apparently you have these sources and you wanted to bring it up again. I don't understand because you don't agree with it. Why try to prove your point? It's just another case of Stephen A. Smith trying to push his weight around and be a bully at times, in my opinion. Because this same dude will act like he's got your back, and all of a sudden he stabs you in the back. He's the type of dude who will give you a hug and then talk nasty about you. I don't like that about Stephen A. Smith. I'm not a fan of him at all. So, again, I agree with the fact that, yes, he's a top 15 player in the league. He's a Finals MVP. Those things are correct. Nobody's going to disagree with him on that part. But why do you have to say, "Do you believe me now?" in regards to his sources? And you're calling out Jaylen Brown on Twitter. It's childish to me. It doesn't make sense. You should have just moved on at this point. Okay, he didn't get selected, but we don't know the exact reason. We can't just say it's because these sources who you disagree with, you didn't think that was the case. It's just another situation where I just have issues with Stephen A. Smith. He's inconsistent. He does one thing and acts like, okay, yeah, I don't agree with this, but I still need to make my point about it because I'm a reporter and I'm always correct. But the fact is, he's not all the time. And I remember the Lonzo Ball situation. And, Lonzo Ball responded to Stephen A. Smith and said, I'm working, trying to get better. And then he goes hardcore saying, "I got reports from your doctors I could reveal." I'm like, bro, you don't need to be saying that on national TV. You're taking things too personal. So I just think when people call out Stephen A. Smith, he gets really insecure and he tries to defend his points when the reality is, why? What are you trying to prove here? You said it yourself. You don't think Jaylen Brown is some guy who can't be marketed. You said that out of your mouth. So why bring up your sources again to prove that, that's the reason why he's on Team USA? Maybe have a actual basketball conversation. Maybe Derek White was a better fit for this roster instead of coming at Jaylen Brown on Twitter. I'm like, bro, you're not making any sense here. It's uncalled for, in my opinion. It's just childish stuff. And going back to Jaylen Brown, I think he's just going to use this as motivation when he comes to the next season. That's scary as a Celtics fan. I think he's going to be scary to watch because first it was the left hand. He was terrible in the finals, conference finals, I mean. And he comes back and wins finals MVP. We'll see how he comes out next season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And he's in his prime years. And I think this season, Jaylen Brown was phenomenal. I just saw so much growth from him. And I'm excited where he's going to be next season. That left-hand talk, dead. You can say whatever you want. That left hand looked pretty good this year. And his defense got back to par. He was on another level. So if this is going to fuel his fire and motivate him for next season, good luck, NBA. Because if you have another motivated Jaylen Brown trying to prove a point that, hey, I can actually go out there and perform, and he gets another championship, and let's say he gets another NBA Finals MVP. Yeah, I mean, I know for Jason Tatum that might not be good, but you know what? You're going to fire his second option up, and I get it. You know, folks out here trying to speak bad about Jaylen Brown, I just don't like that. You know, keep the respect. The man's already a champion. He's proven that he's clutch. He had that big basket in Game 3 against the Mavericks. We saw Game 1 hitting that Game Time 3 against the Pacers. So he's just amazing, and I think Jaylen Brown will come out with some fire. And with this beef with, or I don't know if it's beef with Stephen A. Smith, whatever it may be, I think he's going to use it. He's going to be in the lab, and he's going to be very scary next season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Love to hear your thoughts on what Stephen A. Smith had to say, where he chimed in and tried to bring up his sources to prove a point. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.